Welcome to Augustana Sportscene. It's your weekly look inside Augie Athletics, and I'm your host, Carla Metts. Well, we've got an exciting show for you. This past week was full of last-second wins and a championship. The football team was able to come back in an incredible win against Winona State on Saturday, and we're going to talk with head coach Jerry Olszewski a little bit later about that game. We've also got a huge buzzer beater to talk about in basketball and an NSIC soccer championship, so we'll get right to it, reviewing highlights from this past week. The football team matched up with Winona State inside Maxwell Stadium on Saturday. Although things didn't look promising for the Vikings late in the fourth, the team was able to remain calm under pressure. The Warriors were up 34-28 when Trey Hyde and the Augie offense took over on its own 29-yard line with 1:34 left on the clock. Hyde was sacked for a loss of 7 on first down, but then completed a 12-yard pass to C.J. Ham and a 30-yard pass to Charlie Hayes, putting them in Winona's territory. Hyde connected with Hayes again to give them a first down on the Warriors' 9. On the next play, Hyde was pushed out of bounds at the 6-yard line with only 1 second left on the clock. Both teams called timeouts, upping the tension, but in the final play of the game, Hyde shook a defender and tossed the ball to Hayes for a touchdown to tie the game. Lucas Wayman came out to kick the extra point, removing possibilities of overtime and getting an incredible 35-34 win over the Warriors. C.J. Ham tied his career high with 3 rushing touchdowns, and Hyde finished the day completing 24 of 35 passes for 298 yards and 2 touchdowns. Although the Warriors had more offensive yardage for the day, the Vikings defense forced 4 turnovers and were led by Kirkby Ora with 10 tackles. The win puts Augustana at 5-1 in the NSIC, tying for second in the overall NSIC standings. Moving on to volleyball, Augustana opened their final home series with a sweep over Minnesota State. The Vikings set the tone in set 1 with a 4-1 run before the Mavericks tied the set at 5. But with help from Ivy Peterson and hitting errors by the Mavericks, Augie took set 1 25-13. Set 2 was more of a battle for Augustana. The set went all the way to 26-all, but a service error by the Mavericks and a big kill by Anna Sakura gave Augie the set victory 28-26. The Vikings fell behind 2-0 in set 3, but would eventually take the set and match win 25-17. Saturday's game against number 1 Concordia St Paul would not be easy. Augustana pulled out wins in set 1 and 4, making for a dramatic set 5. Although Danny Magis and Ashley Wilson gave strong performances, it wouldn't be enough, and the Vikings fell in set 5, 14-16. The soccer team's 2-win win over Minot State on November 6 sent them to the program's first NSIC tournament championship game. Number 2 Augustana matched up with number 4 Winona State on Sunday for a chance at the title. The first half was scoreless for both teams, but that would change in the 52nd minute when Sam Timkowitz knocked one in by beating the goalie in the upper right corner. The Vikings defense held Winona scoreless. Taylor Mahacek stopped 4 Warrior goals and only gave up 1 throughout the whole tournament. Her performance led to being named the tournament's MVP. Both cross-country teams qualified for the NCAA Division II championship for the 7th consecutive year. The men claimed their 4th regional championship and were led by Keegan Carter for the 4th time this season. The Vikings will conclude their season November 21st in the NCAA championship. The Viking men's basketball team took down the Iowa Hawkeyes this past Friday. The score was tied at 74 when the Vikings decided to call a timeout with 11 seconds on the clock. Augustana got the ball to Daniel Jansen, who hit the jumper as time expired for the 76-74 win. That game not only proves their number 1 spot in the polls, but gives Viking fans a lot to get excited about this basketball season. Well, we've already reviewed the final drive for the football team's win against Winona State, so when we return, it'll be time to break down the game with head coach Jerry Olszewski. We'll be right back.
Being part of a great team means you know your role and you work your role to the best of your ability. If you're consistently going to show up and be your best, you're going to be part of that team. You can see the success they have over time. It's not just 1 year flash in the pan. It's consistent success over time, which makes them great. And that's where the work ethic comes in. The ability to come into work, do the same thing repeatedly, day after day after day, and putting your best foot forward is going to separate you from the rest.
Choose the experts. Choose Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
You want more from your home improvement store? Don't waste your entire weekend wandering through a maze of aisles and crowds trying to find some newbie big box store employee who's avoiding you and your questions like Bigfoot avoids photographers. Head to Schoenemann's instead, where you'll find answers and everything you need without the hassle, hoopla, and headaches. From questions to complete projects, look to the experts at Schoenemann's, Sioux Falls, and Harrisburg.
The Volkswagen Passat Limited Edition. Dollar for dollar, it's an amazing value. Let's add up the worth of its standard features, like a rear-view camera, keyless access, heated front seats, and more.
But what really tips the scales is that you get all this value for this surprisingly low price. That's $1,200 in savings. I usually hate being on scales, but this is nice.
At Graham Automotive, West 41st Street, Sioux Falls, or online at grahamvw.com.
Welcome back. This weekend's game was the true definition of exciting football. A last-second win with an incredible drive gave the Vikings the number 2 spot in the NSIC. Here's Brad Peterson with Coach OJ to break down the game.
All right, thanks a lot, Carla. The last time 35-34, you lost at Moorhead. This is a big one at Winona State, Coach. And I'm going to say that in this contest, even though you give up 34, defense played a big part of this, and the fact that there was no panic in the last 7 minutes down by 10.
Yeah, that's really the storyline. I thought our defense did an excellent job against a very, very talented offense and a very explosive offense, and an experienced quarterback in Jack Nelson. So, turning him over 4 times in the first half is and not just him, the entire Winona State offense was huge for us. And I can't emphasize enough the improvement that we continue to see in our defense, and I'm so proud of the fight in those kids. We should have capitalized more offensively on some of those drives and got a few more points on the board, but I'm just really pleased with that. But with that said, at halftime, there was a great demeanor in the locker room. It was more one of, let's go, Coach, what do you want to tell us, because we're ready to go and get out there and finish the job.
Well, takeaways has been a big storyline the past couple of weeks, especially with 8 takeaways. What was the game plan against Jack Nelson and Winona State to try to get the ball back and try to gain a couple of extra possessions, because that's probably what you're going to need again this past weekend? Yeah,
well, we thought that he was really excellent against man coverage, just such a strong arm and such talented wide receivers that we thought we'd try to show him different looks. And I thought Coach Bergstrom and the staff put a really good plan together as far as switching stuff up, giving him different presentations and different coverage alignments. And that, I think, really helped, and we moved our stunts up front to try to put some pressure on him. More, if you're not going to get to him, at least change where his launch point is in the pocket. And we didn't do that every time, but I thought we did it enough where timing was off a little bit on some stuff. So a compliment to again, our staff and our kids for executing a plan pretty well and making the play. That's the other part. Earlier in the season, we might have got our hands on a ball, but we didn't finish. And this time I saw when we had it, we finished. We intercepted the ball and we found a way to get it done.
And you've been able to sustain this season because of the youngsters stepping in, because of the injuries, and that also has been felt defensively with your linebackers, including redshirt freshman Kirby Hora. 4th straight game he's led you in tackles. He had 10 on the day at Winona. Yeah,
and Kirby continues to get better. I think that Kirby's going to be, when it's all said and done, if his health maintains and he continues to be healthy, he'll be one of the best linebackers in this league and one of the better ones to play for Augie for a while. I said that when we recruited him. He's just a very talented, long, smart football player. And Kirby's been put into a lot of roles as a young player, but starting off, we had 3 seniors that we were very happy with and had a lot of experience. But at this point now, some of those guys are injured, some are out for the year, some are coming back slowly. So Kirby's presence is absolutely necessary, and he stepped up to it, and I hope continues to do so as we go forward. I'm just so proud of him.
All right, the drive, 9 plays, 71 yards, 94 seconds. It seemed like the 94 seconds actually was a part of the game that slowed down, because It seemed like the drive was very methodical. The last play, though, take us through that.
Yeah, and I want to start with saying that these kids have done a great job in 2 minutes for the last 2 years offensively. There's no panic. They understand situations. They understand where to go with it, but it's set up by playing good defense and creating a field goal opportunity rather than giving up that fourth down. Great effort play by Kevion Mahan to shop it at 4-2. And they kick the field goal. We're down 6. They score there or continue the drive. We're in trouble. I got to burn timeouts, and who knows what's going to happen. So great job our defense setting it up. Really good job with Trey, continue to keep plays alive. Charlie to find the seam in the spot. CJ to catch the ball and migrate downhill. And then we get to the play where probably could have called the timeout, but we thought we had a good matchup on who we had out there. We run it. And Trey thankfully gets out of bounds at about 1.5 seconds left on the clock and gives us enough time to get a timeout, calm down, call the play set that we wanted, take a good look at it, and the rest, as they say, is history. Great job by Trey Hyde buying time, declining in the pocket, and then getting the ball out of his hands because we really had 2 wide receivers that were wide open in the end zone. So I'm just glad he got it out and that Charlie finished it. And what an exciting time, which I had to remember, the guys, it's tied. We got an extra point we got to put in here yet. But exciting moment. And we've had so many this year. These are the cardiac kids, and they just continue to fight. I'm so proud of the fight and the resiliency in these young men and the diligence to say, we're not done. And that's a great life lesson for them, regardless of what happens. This is a great life lesson that you never quit, you never give up, you always understand that do my part, and it worked out for us. So these guys remember this for a long time.
Close out the regular season at KO against Concordia St Paul, lost to the Bears last year 17-7, and saying goodbye to the seniors.
Yep, it is senior day for us, and so many impactful seniors. I'm indebted to this group because they brought me into the family. And things changed 3 years ago here for those kids, and I just love them. And I love what we've done. We said about making KO the place to play in our league, and to this point right now, we're undefeated in the girl, and we want to make sure we keep it that way for these guys because that was one of our season goals. So proud of those guys, and where we're going in this program, home field really means a lot to us. And these guys, our players do remember last year. They remember how upset I was in our performance and our effort after last year's game, and how I thought we got out physical in this contest at Concordia. And they'll be reminded of that again this week, all week, so that we bring out our best performance of the guys that we have that are able to play. You can expect a pretty spirited effort by the Vikes.
And another game that's crucial for Augustana. First time since 2010 the Vikings are in the playoff picture, and best of luck to you, Coach.
Thanks so much, Brad. Fight on.
All right, Carla?
Thanks, Brad. The Vikings have their final regular season game inside Kirkby Over Stadium, and they'll kick things off for Senior Day at 1 p.m. against Concordia St Paul. When we return, it'll be time to catch up with Coach Meske about all things volleyball. Be sure to stay tuned. You're watching Augustana Sportscene.
Moms and dads, want to make sure that your kid is prepared for school picture day? First order of business are clothes. Help them pick out clothes and colors that look good on them. Because sometimes the picture shows more than just this, After all, you're going to have that picture forever. Remember, smiles are like French fries. They're better when they're fresh. Bottom line, the Life Touch team will make sure everything runs smoothly. So picture day will be fun and exciting for everybody.
Need a new water softener?
I'm on it.
Dude, don't do it yourself.
No?
No. Leave it to the experts. Just say, hey, Culligan man.
Save salt, energy, and water with a $39.95 water softener. Inspect and check on any brand.
Noah, are you about ready to go?
Don't forget your football.
Thanks, Mom.
You promised to never miss a game, and with iMed Mobility, you never have to. From handicap-accessible vans to wheelchair lifts and driving aids, iMed makes it easier to be there for all of life's important moments. iMed Mobility, providing life-changing experiences for all our customers.
Welcome back. The Vikings volleyball team had their last homestand this weekend here inside the Elman Center. They came away with a win against Minnesota State on Friday, but fell to Concordia St Paul on Saturday. Here's Brad Peterson with Coach Meske to review the details of those matches.
All right, thanks a lot, Carla. And Dan, final homestand of the regular season here at the Elman Center. Close out a senior career, too, on a weekend with a sweep against Minnesota State. That was huge. And then a heartbreaking 5-set loss to the top team in the nation. Overall, a lot of emotion that went into the weekend, especially with the seniors.
Yeah, it was a great weekend for us. You mentioned Mankato. That was the match we had circled all week. That was on Friday. We lost at their place, so it was kind of a redemption match for us. We didn't feel like we played our best volleyball there, and we knew we were capable of a much better effort. So to get a sweep in this conference against anybody is great. To get it against a team like Mankato is even better. So rode some of that momentum into Saturday, and then started Marissa Johnson, who hadn't been in the starting rotation all that much, but certainly deserved an opportunity, especially on senior night. And of course, threw her into the fire against the #1 team in the country, and she was probably the best setter on the court. Did a great job, and you could see it after the match. There was so much emotion with not just the seniors, but everybody involved. They wanted it so bad, and we were so close. And I think just moving forward, we've seen the level, we've been at the level, and it just makes us want it that much more.
All right, before we get to Concordia in that match, how big was that sweep to conserve energy for Saturday, that sweep on Friday night?
Yeah, we talked about it after the match too, because with Concordia coming the next day, we talked about in the locker room on Friday, we said, hey, this sweep was huge. Even just going 3 as opposed to 4 sets, we're able to get out of the gym by 8:15, ice bath. Our girls are at home, hopefully going to bed by 9:30. Concordia is probably just loading the bus after a hard match with Wayne, and then coming back to Sioux Falls, probably not getting to bed until midnight. So that's why you look at this conference, so many teams do so well at home. You don't have the travel, you've got recovery. There's just a lot of advantages of playing at home.
All right, so such a sweet start against Minnesota State on Friday, and Taylor Banks, again in that back row, really was a part of what went on Friday.
Yeah, so our defensive effort is what takes us over the top against teams like Mankato. Tay's done a great job of just she's made some adjustments and getting a little bit lower on her defense. She had a little bit of a rough patch in the middle of the season, and we adjusted a little bit with her posture, and she's back on track doing some great things.
It's also a visibility game too, a visibility and anticipation in your reads.
Yeah, the game, the more that you play it, you can see it with Tay. She makes certain plays, she just comes out of nowhere. The game it looks slower to her. The way she sees the game is a lot slower than it looks to other players. That's what great defenders do.
All right, so stats don't lie, and we've talked about it before. Okay, sometimes they can, but in some cases, really it is true. 3 Vikings hit 400 in that match, and when you've got junior Becca Finley and also sophomore Ashley Wilson hitting at 400, you really do well as a team.
Yeah, we've talked about that in the past too. When we get those middles to that 350 to 400 mark, it just opens up our offense for everybody. And against teams like on Saturday night against Concordia, when we have a tough time slowing them down, we have to be attacking at that level. Against a Mankato, when we're attacking at that level, we're really cruising. But yeah, we have to have those middles. Becca, Ashley, we have to have them killing the ball at a high percentage.
All right, then Saturday, a heartbreaker, top rank. Concordia St Paul comes in. A long drought for Augustana to beat Concordia St Paul almost happens. You take a look at the effort and attitude, just coming up short. 5th set has not been kind to the Vikings this season.
No, it hasn't. I think we're 0-4, and we talk about as a team that you learn a lot about yourself in the 5th set. We sometimes say your demons come out. So if you're not doing something well, that's going to be multiplied by 10 in the 5th set, because it's such a quick set. It's only to 15. So for us to see the evolution that we've had in 5th sets, where we went to 5 with Concordia at their place, and just really weren't even in the 5th set at all. At home it was great to see we beat them to 8, and then unfortunately just couldn't close it out, but we're in that set the whole way. So I look at that and I say, man, we're really on the right track. We're getting better, and we're raising our level each week.
And so you had a really quick start in that first set to maintain the night with the Concordia St Paul, because they do sustain so well in 5 sets. And then one of the other keys as you reviewed the game, or the match that is trying to do be much more effective in the middle, trying to block them in the middle because they just had a field night.
Yeah, Riley, number 5 for them, she had as good a middle performance as I've ever seen at any level. She had 24 kills in 5 sets. Sometimes we have a tough time setting our middles 24 times total. She had 44 attempts and 24 kills. So Concordia, that's just kind of just an example of what they do. They'll find something that's working for them that night, and they'll just keep exploiting it. If you saw us, we rotated 3 different players into a position to try and block that one player for Concordia. We got some results here and there, but over the course of time, she really had her way with us, and probably one of the big differences in the match.
Plus, you also didn't give them the freebies, only 2 service errors in the evening. Now, moving on, because we have to fate in your own hands coming up this weekend. Of course, at Winona State in Upper Iowa, also vying for a playoff spot in postseason play in the conference tournament.
Yeah, we look at this as, it's time to be road warriors. We had our last home matches, and we're hitting the road and starting the conference tournament on Friday. Now, it officially starts on Wednesday, but we're fighting Winona, we're fighting Upper Iowa for those last spots in the conference tournament. So really our fate's in our own hands, and we kind of look at this as a pre-qualifier for the tournament. It's time to start hitting our stride, and it's win or go home time right now.
All right, best of luck, Dan.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Carla?
The team is on the road in their final 2 regular season games. They take on the Winona State Warriors on the 13th and the Upper Iowa Peacocks on the 14th. When we return, we're going to talk with the Vice President of Advancement about the recent changes to Augustana. We'll be right back.
The specialists are so important because they're the ones that can take your team from average to great. The guys that have their specialized roles and understand them and do them really well, those guys are hard to find. And so when you have those guys that are good at what they do and believe in what they're doing, don't care too much about who gets the credit, and want to go out and prove something, I think that is probably the most important ingredient in a successful team.
Choose the experts. Choose Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
You want more from your home improvement store? Don't waste your entire weekend wandering through a maze of aisles and crowds trying to find some newbie big box store employee who's avoiding you and your questions like Bigfoot avoids photographers. Head to Schoenemann's instead, where you'll find answers and everything you need without the hassle, hoopla, and headaches. From questions to complete projects, look to the experts at Schoenemann's, Sioux Falls and Harrisburg.
Welcome back. Augustana has seen a lot of changes this fall. One of the biggest is the name change from Augustana College to Augustana University. Bill Gross joins the Vice President of Advancement, Bob Preloger, to talk about all the campus changes.
Well, as Carla mentioned, we're visiting with Bob Preloger, the Vice President for Advancement at Augustana. To begin with, I don't imagine a lot of you out there know what a Vice President for Advancement does. So, Bob, would you give the folks out there a little rundown on your responsibilities?
Well, the Advancement Office at Augustana includes the Office of Marketing, Communications, Alumni Relations, and Development. And together, it's our responsibility to advance the mission of Augustana University.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit further. Talk first about the marketing communications side.
All of the magazine, all of our e-communications with our alumni, with our parents, all the marketing for the enrollment effort all goes through the marketing office here in the Office of Marketing and Communications. Communications that go out to prospective students as well as donors. The fundraising office works very closely with the marketing office and the communication office to get the message out there to request funds and support that will help Augustana.
Well, as you can see, it's a vital part of what Augustana does, and we had a major announcement here that Bob had a big part in along with many others at Augustana. And that was our change on September 1st from Augustana College to Augustana University. Bob, talk about the name change, what it entailed, and why we did it.
After about 2 years of strategic planning and deciding what was the future for Augustana, as we looked at the forces out there in the higher education landscape, as we talked about what we could do better here as an institution, and as we talked about the growth of Sioux Falls, how could we match the strengths of Augustana with the needs of Sioux Falls to provide our students with an even better experience? Well, we realized that we didn't want to just be a place for 18 to 22-year-olds. We thought that the academic programs, the opportunities for us to advance graduate education, the best way we could achieve our mission for the future was to change the name to Augustana University, thus signaling a more aggressive and intentional effort to attract adult learners, those that want to pursue master's degrees. The belief was that we could do more to achieve our mission by expanding our academic programs to attract adult learners who are interested in graduate programs. Genetic counseling, the one with Sanford, is going to be a huge addition to us. Master of Arts in Accounting, which will begin next year, and the program that we've had for a couple of years now, the Master's of Arts degree in Education online. So we feel we can achieve the needs of the institution as well as the city of Sioux Falls by expanding our academic programs.
Well, and as you folks know out in the region here, Sioux Falls in this area has been growing rapidly and is projected to grow rapidly into the future. Part of this, Bob, was involved with the growth of Sioux Falls.
Exactly. Yeah, as Sioux Falls continues to grow, there's a need here that our board expressed, that our alumni expressed, that the campus community expressed about how can we be of greater service to Sioux Falls. And so developing some new entrepreneurial programs with business and industry, we believe we can help the city and also help the students that come to Augustana pursue some interesting opportunities.
Well, it's a wonderful change and been embraced overwhelmingly by folks out, alumni and in the region. So we're really excited about the future of Augustana University. Well, switching gears here a little bit, Bob, the other part of your responsibility, as you mentioned, involves fundraising. And we've been hard at it here for a long time. And last year, in 2014, we celebrated a successful momentum campaign raising over $121 million. Bob, talk about what that campaign entailed and what it meant to Augustana.
A little over $80 million was given to Augustana in the form of cash and cash pledges, and another $40 million in deferred gifts for the future, part of individuals' estate plans. And the centerpiece of that campaign was the Freuland Science Complex, a $35 million project that will catapult Augustana even to a greater sense of education for students that are interested in the sciences, research, collaborations with other organizations. And that building is going up on campus right now. A year from now, we'll dedicate it, but that was the centerpiece of Momentum Augustana.
And there were many other things, the stadium, a library renovation, and as Bob mentioned, a lot of other types of gifts for scholarships in support of the institution. Fantastic. Well, as those of you out there maybe already know, when we finish one campaign, we start another one, and we're now in Horizons 2019, which is an $80 million campaign, a little shorter. And Bob, what are we doing in this one?
Again, the centerpiece of that campaign will be the Student Activity Center. We'd like to build a 125,000 square foot field house type facility just east of the Elman Center that will contain an indoor track, it'll contain indoor practice areas and recreational spaces, a fitness center, so perhaps some even retail on 33rd Street. And so we're out, as we all know, raising money for that and hoping that we can break ground in another year on that facility.
Well, folks, exciting things going on at Augustana. I'm one of the lucky guys here. In my new role, I get to work for Bob. He's my boss. We have a fun time, we work hard, and we're out there trying to achieve as much as we can for Augustana University. Bob, thanks for being with us. Good luck.
You bet.
It's always a great day to be an Augustana Viking. Back to you, Carla.
And here's a look at the upcoming week for your Vikings. Keep up with all the latest information on the Vikings at GoAugie.com. I'm your host, Carla Metts. We'll see you next week.